What's going on, everybody? I'm Sean McCabe, and welcome to the latest and greatest edition of Between the Hash Marks. I'm by myself today, no James. He's on his way to New Jersey as we speak. He's going to be going to that Game 3 Devils-Tampa Bay game. That's going to be very exciting, so I got to hold it down. Unfortunately, I'm unable to get into the iHeart studio since I do not work there. James does. So we got to do this from my living room here, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be absolutely loaded. We have a full NBA 2017-2018 season review. We have my opening rant. I'm gonna go through every single playoff team and power rank them 1 through 16. I'm gonna go through the first round matchups and the matchups going ahead, the predictions that we have. I'm also gonna give you my MVP, my Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, and Most Improved Player, plus who I think will actually win it. Not just who I think should win it, but who will actually win it. Man, it's going to be an absolutely loaded show. I'm 100% fired up. First, it is time for my opening rant.
Your number one source for sports.
You know who I can't stand? Kevin Durant.
He looks like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton had a kid.
Now, who can argue with that?
I hate Boston.
I'm the biggest Miami Heat hater you'll ever meet.
I just don't understand where you're getting your bogus information from.
What the hell are you even talking about?
Well, I'm sorry you're too freaking sensitive to handle the truth.
You think I'm crazy? I'm just getting warmed up.
You're now between the hash marks with James Koklak and Sean McCabe.
You ever meet a woman who just wants to be dazzled with gifts? You originally think she loves you, but she only loves you based upon the shiniest new piece of jewelry or handbag that you bought her. Those diamond earrings that you bought her when you first started dating made her extremely happy for the first 2 weeks, but now those diamond earrings really don't mean anything. That expensive Michael Kors purse that you purchased was amazing, but now it's out of season. She hardly uses it now. That fat-ass 5-carat diamond ring, it was literally the world to her. You were told about how amazing the ring would be before you bought it at the jeweler, and how much she loved it when you gave it to her, and how much she loved you because you bought it for her. But then 1 year later, she doesn't seem to show you the same amount of love. Now, to be honest, to be fair, you haven't gotten her any gift as good as that 5-carat ring, but you notice the new bracelet that you bought her a month ago, which is very nice, but it is not clearly as nice as the ring, gets way more attention and way more affection. And that 5-carat ring doesn't seem to mean as much as when you first bought it, even though it is still a 5-carat diamond ring. That is what the MVP award is in the NBA. The MVP award for the NBA is a complete sham. Now, most of you are going to tell me I'm crazy for this type of comparison, but just listen. The NBA Sportwriters, the ones who have a vote for the MVP award, are the gold-digging women. The man buying her all these lavish gifts are the NBA fans, us as a fan base. The 5-carat diamond ring is Russell Westbrook, and the shiny new bracelet is James Harden. Don't believe me? Keep listening, all right? Last year, all of you, every single one of you, not just the sports writers, but everybody, was telling me that if Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double for this season, then he is the MVP, no doubt about it. Even better than James Harden, who is a more efficient player in 2016-2017. Even better than LeBron James, who is the best player of this generation and continues to get better every single season. Even better than Kevin Durant, who had arguably his best season of his career, his most efficient season of his career. So Westbrook averages a triple-double with 31 points per game, 10 assists per game, and 10 rebounds a game for the 2016-2017 season, and he wins the MVP award. Okay, so the 2017-2018 season comes around and just finished up last Wednesday, and Westbrook averages another triple-double for the entire year. 25 points per game, 10 assists per game, 10 rebounds per game, and he averaged more steals, and he had a better field goal percentage. It increased by 2 whole percentage points. And it has never been done in the history of the NBA for 2 seasons in a row. So, Westbrook is going to win the MVP award again, and it's not even close. Case closed, right? Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Russell Westbrook isn't even being considered for the MVP award this season. And this is my problem with everybody who is saying he should be the MVP last year. ESPN has 6 guys ahead of him for the MVP award. 6 guys. And listen, to this list of people ahead of him is absolutely crazy. We have who is supposed to run away with the MVP award, James Harden. James Harden, who's averaging 1 more point per game, 3 less assists, and 3 less rebounds per game than he did last season. LeBron James, who I have no quarrel with since he's basically putting up the same numbers as last year, but at an older age, so it's even more impressive. But to everybody else, this should be an outrage just based upon last year when LeBron was 3rd in voting. So I would put, I mean, you have LeBron 2nd this year. Anthony Davis, who literally has the same stats as last year, same amount of games, but his team is slightly better. There is this nostalgia with them because they lost DeMarcus Cousins back in January, and they went on this crazy playoff run, and I believe they're the 5th seed now, so that's great for them. So, but Anthony Davis, literally the same numbers as last year. Damian freaking Lillard. Are you freaking kidding me? He's averaging 1 less point per game from last year, and he's shooting far worse. Not to mention, comparing him to this year's Russell Westbrook is laughable. Westbrook is better than him in every category except Lillard averages 1 more point per game. Next, we have Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant. What? Are you crazy? How does this make any freaking sense? You didn't want to put him in your MVP talks last year because he went and joined a super team. But if those players get hurt like they did this year and they have 10 less wins like they did this year, and KD has 2 less rebounds per game and less steals and shoots at a lesser percentage, then he gets into the nominations. Are you crazy? What? Okay, last but not least, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is slightly better than last year, but his team hasn't made any real strides. They actually have a worse seed in the playoffs from last year. And then, last but not least, not even being considered by ESPN or CBS Sports or Fox Sports or anybody, would be Russell Westbrook. Or would it be? Or would you put somebody else ahead of him? Who knows? Can you finally just admit it? This was never about the triple-double. Just admit that you, NBA sports writers, are just a bunch of gold diggers that want the fancy new gifts. And when you are given the greatest gift of all time, the 5-carat diamond ring, the triple-double, which is what I was told last year was the most important thing in basketball, the highest honor in basketball for a single season award, you throw it away the following year because it's not shiny and it's not new. It's crazy hypocritical, and all of you should lose your right to vote for the MVP because you can't even match your own standards. Coming up next, I'm ranking all the NBA playoff teams in my power rankings. You're listening to BTH.
Do you have the overwhelming urge to advertise something where it'll only reach 100 people? Well, don't we have the perfect thing for you? Right here, we will sell you this 30-second spot for whatever commercial you want, as long as you let us put this music with it. This music will be by Audionautics and Jason Shaw. Isn't this music fantastic? We sure think so, and that's why we're going to make you listen to it for a few more seconds. Now, back to the greatest sports podcast ever to be conceived.
And welcome back to Between the Hash Marks. I actually want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Greg Mintz. Greg Mintz is the only person I know on this planet to be consistent in the mindset that Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double this year. He should also get the MVP. He's the only one. He texted me this right after the game, telling me, yeah, Russ should be the MVP. I think he's an idiot, but at least Greg Mintz, you are consistent, so shout out to you for not being hypocritical, unlike all of these gold-digging sports writers are, so shout out to you. Now, moving on, we just had a great first segment here, a great opening rant. We're now moving on to the NBA playoff power rankings. Without further ado, here is my 16th best team in the NBA. We're going with the Washington Wizards. This team is an average team. A couple of games above 500 at home, a couple games below 500 on the road, and a couple of games, they're over 500 overall for the 4 games over 500 overall, 4 games over 500 for the conference. If they were in a tougher conference, if they were in the West, they probably would have a worse record. And now I'm not sure if John Wall makes them better or worse. They seem to figure it out without them, but this team will show their true colors once the playoff hits and their first round matchup with the Raptors. The number 15 team in the NBA is the Milwaukee Bucks. This team is average, although I do think they are, I would say, half a point better than the Washington Wizards. They have the star player in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he seems to carry them no matter what. They're really good at home. They're terrible on the road, and they're actually not really that good against the 2 better teams in their division, in the Pacers and the Cavs. So that's why I have them at 15th. Number 14, I have the Miami Heat. I thought the Heat would actually be better after getting Dwayne Wade for almost nothing. And I'm not sure if they are better than Milwaukee or not, but they do play a lot better defense, and that matters in the playoffs. But the locker room troubles with Hassan Whiteside make me weary about this team, and they've gotten some bad luck with injuries. But they're also a terrible road team. So that's why I only have them 0.5 points better than an average team, slightly ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks, though. Number 13, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're lucky to get into the playoffs, but I make them 1 point better than an average team. I thought Tibbs would really instill some defense into this team, but they rank 17th in the NBA. Although, that being said, they are better this year than they were last year. So maybe he is instilling that defense. Although I do have to admit, they do have much better talent, much better players this year. They're going to be a pesky team in the first round of this playoffs. 12th team in the NBA, my power rankings, is the New Orleans Pelicans. I have them 1.5 points better than an average team, and they honestly would be higher if they had DeMarcus Cousins. But you know what? They don't, all right? But credit needs to be given where credit is due. Anthony Davis has been a man on a mission, and many thought this team would be done when DeMarcus Cousins went down, but they didn't. Their defense is just as bad as Minnesota's, but they play just as good at home as they do on the road, so don't expect much variance in between them, between their home games and their playoff games in the playoffs. Now I have the 11th seed, the Indiana Pacers. I also have them 1.5 points better than an average team. They're about the same as New Orleans, but the thing I really like about the Pacers is they remind me of a poor man's version of the Spurs, where they play very hard every single night. Doesn't matter who they're playing, who they have out there. They play at the same level of they give the same amount of effort every single game. Victor Oladipo has been great for this team. He has emerged as a star. It's funny. If you were to tell me that the Pacers were the 11th best team going into this year, I would have said you were freaking crazy. They play well in the conference, and they have a winning record both at home and on the road, so that also needs to be accounted for as well. The 10th team in my power rankings, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. They somehow managed the 4th seed out west, good for them, but they don't score enough points for as much as they give up. They play worse against their division, which every team in their division was at least 10 games above 500, and they have the second worst record against their conference for teams that are in the playoffs. That being said, they have 3 great players, and they have the potential to beat Golden State if they end up matching up against them, but could equally lose to the Timberwolves, who I have the worst out of the Western Conference playoff teams. I have them 2 points better than an average team. The 9th best team that I have in the NBA playoffs is the San Antonio Spurs. They did have a little bit of a slip towards the end of the year, but I'm not going to put too much stock in it because they have the best coach in the NBA, and he knows the value of resting players. They were incredible at home, but absolutely god awful on the road. So look for this team to have a wide variance between their home and away games. They are tied for the best defense in the entire NBA, but I don't know if Aldridge can really carry them for an entire series or even for a deeper stretch into the playoffs. I'm leaning towards no. Still, I have them better than OKC. They were better than OKC against the conference, but I only make them 2 points better than an average team. But if they somehow got Kawhi Leonard back for the playoffs, they'd be upgraded by about 2 or 3 points. My 8th best team in the NBA playoffs is the Portland Trailblazers. This team is amazing at home, just like San Antonio, and Lillard is having a phenomenal year, even though I bashed him in the previous segment. They had a nice run in the middle of the year, pushed themselves to this 3 seed, but I wish they had a third reliable option of scoring besides their two guards. Slight edge better than OKC and San Antonio. I gave them 2.5 points better than an average team. My 7th best team in the entire NBA playoffs is the Utah Jazz. They played very well in their conference and very well at home. They needed to be better on the road for me to upgrade them more. But listen to this. They had 26 losses in mid-January, and they only lost 8 more games all year for the next 3 months. What happened? Rudy Gobert came back and went on a tear. Ricky Rubio is having a career year, and Jay Crowder is a very nice addition. Not to mention, Donovan Mitchell has been a great rookie all year. I make them 3 points better than an average team. My 6th best team in the NBA playoffs is the Boston Celtics. Even after losing Kyrie for the year, not to mention not having Gordon Hayward, this team still rattled off an impressive 6-game winning streak where they beat Oklahoma City, they went to Portland and won, they went to Utah and won, and then they came back home and beat Toronto. Yeah, those are 4 very good teams. They play great defense. They're best defense in the Eastern Conference. They're actually better on the road than at home, and very, very good in conference. I make them 3 points better than an average team, but the injuries, very, very concerning, especially now that I'm not sure if Marcus Smart is going to be available for the first round. My 5th best team in the entire NBA playoffs is the Philadelphia 76ers. This rating is assuming that they have Joel Embiid, which I know they won't have for the first game of the playoffs. With him, they are about 4.5 points better than the average team. Without him, they're about 2 points worse. So, yeah, I would say they're worse than the Celtics without him, worse than the Jazz without him. But that being said, they've won 16 games in a row, mostly against the crap of the Eastern Conference, yes, but still 16 in a row, and about 7 of those games have been without Embiid. Ben Simmons has played absolutely sensationally as of late, and think of this team as you would a typical Kentucky or Duke team, very young and talented at the beginning of the year, but they make a lot of dumb, young mistakes. Now, after a full season under their belt, they're playing at their highest level. I really think this is what the Sixers are, and I expect them to, make a little bit of a run here in the playoffs. My 4th best team in my power rankings is the Toronto Raptors. I know I have them lower than most people out in Vegas, but I still think this team is 5.5 points better than the average team, a full point better than the Sixers. DeRozan and Lowry are having great years, and Dwayne Casey has really shaped this team up. They have the best overall offense in the Eastern Conference and are amazing at home. But I need to see them rout the Washington Wizards, or else I'm going to really lose faith in this team. My 3rd best team in the NBA overall in the playoffs is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Say what you want about their season, but this team's offense has been absolutely sensational since the trade deadline. I only make them a half point better than the Raptors, so that's 6 points better than the average team because their defense is 29th in the NBA. But this team still rattled off 50 wins on the back of LeBron. 2nd best team in the NBA is the Golden State Warriors. Is this team still the best in the NBA? I don't know. I don't think so. Not right now. They only had 58 wins this season, although every single one of their star players has been dealing with a nagging injury. I put them at 8 points better than an average team right now. That's without Steph Curry. If Steph Curry comes back, if they win the first round of the playoffs, Steph Curry comes back, that's an adage of 2 points. That'd make them 10 points better than an average team, which I would have them the best overall team, but they do not, and that makes me concerned for their first round matchup. If they can get past the Spurs, they'll be the favorites to win it all, but their bench is definitely worse than last year's bench, and so is their defense. Their defense is not that good. Now, the number one overall team in the playoffs in my power rankings is the Houston Rockets. Best team in the NBA by far right now. And this is what happens when you have two of the top 5 point guards in the league in a guard-driven league. They dominated this season, rattling off 65 wins. And even though Mike D'Antoni teams are known for their offense, which they did score the second most points this year, they had the 6th best defense, tied for the 6th best defense in all of the NBA. If this team scores like it does with those sharp shooters that they have and plays at a high level of defense, they will win the title. This team also has only lost like 1 or 2 games when Harden, CP3, and Clint Capella all play. That's a team I want nothing a part of. So that is my 16 through 1. Go through it again. Wizards, Bucks, Heat, Timberwolves, Pelicans, Pacers, Thunder. Wrap up 16 through 10. Then we have Spurs, Blazers, Jazz, Celtics. That's 9 through 6. 5th best team, the Sixers. 4th best team, Raptors. 3rd, Cavaliers. 2nd, Warriors. And 1st, the Houston Rockets. Now moving on to the playoffs here. First round matchups. Have the Rockets and the Timberwolves. I'm going to take the Rockets in 6 games here. Even though the Timberwolves have the edge down low, I don't see them stopping Harden or Chris Paul, and I don't see them defending a 3 that well. But I think they steal a couple games at home. Give me the Rockets in 6. Warriors and Spurs. I have the Warriors in 6. This is the team that could beat the Warriors, but I cannot be confident with how the Spurs have played lately, and they just seem to be there's a lot of distractions going on in that locker room with Kawhi Leonard. You could say there's no distractions because they know he's not going to play, but I don't know. I don't know if their defense, their top defense, can stop Golden State's offense in a 7-game series. I'm leaning towards no. Give me the Warriors in 6 games. Next matchup, we have the Blazers and the Pelicans. I have the Blazers in 7. This series is so simple to me. Blazers will win every single one of their home games and lose every single one of their road games. Hey, at least the Pelicans' Anthony Davis wins a playoff game for the first time. Next up, we have the Thunder and the Jazz. I take the Jazz in 6 here. This is going to surprise a lot of people, but the Jazz are highly underrated in this spot. They could easily steal the Game 1 or Game 2 on the road, and it'll be tough for the Thunder to go to Utah and steal one back. Unless PG-13 or Carmelo pop off, which, who knows, kind of leaning towards no. And Russell Westbrook, down the stretch, he makes some incredible shots, but he's a terrible decision maker. Now going on to the Eastern Conference, Raptors and Wizards. I think the Raptors are going to win this in five games. Yes, they are that good, and I think the Wizards are that bad, even with John Wall. I actually gave them a game because of John Wall, but I think that's being a little too nice. He seems to crumble when they need him the most. Don't be surprised if they decide to break this thing up if this series goes terribly for him, which I think it will. Next series, Celtics and Bucks. I have the Celtics in 7. Look, the Bucks are going to make this a series, but Brad Stevens is too good of a coach to lose 4 games to a team that seems to only have one good scoring option. But this is a potential series for an upset. Next series, I have the Sixers and the Heat. I'm taking the Sixers in 6. I know the Sixers aren't a great road team, but the Heat are even worse on the road, and I expect once Embiid comes back to the Sixers, this won't be a huge problem for them at all. Next series, got the Cavaliers and the Pacers. I'm going to take the Cavs in 5. This is a bad draw for the Pacers, but they will manage to win a game. But LeBron, simply put, he puts on another gear, and so does Kevin Love, believe it or not. We actually saw this 2 years ago in the finals. All right, continuing on with the Western Conference here. In my second round, I'm having the Rockets face up against the Jazz. I'm going to take the Rockets in 7 games, but this series is very interesting because I'm not sure if the Rockets are going to be able to play the level of defense they're going to need for the playoffs. But they're really good, and I think they'll take all the games at home, struggle on the road. Next series, I have the Warriors and Blazers matching up in the second round. Now I'm going to take the Warriors in 5. This is all under the condition that Steph Curry is back, and I think he will be, and I think it'll take him a game to figure it out, and then after that, they'll be totally fine. The Blazers don't play great defense. They don't pressure you like that, and it's going to be very hard for them to stop 4 all-stars. This team it's going to be in full stride, and then this is the point where we're going to all think about how stupid we were to doubt the Warriors. Moving on to the Eastern Conference second round, I have the Raptors and Cavaliers. I'm going to take the Cavs in 7. Unfortunately, the Raptors fall to the Cavs in the playoffs for the 3rd straight year, but at least they won a few games this year instead of getting swept. But let's face it, this Cavs team isn't better than last year's, so they're not going to sweep the Raptors. But this year's Raptors team isn't miles better than last year's Raptors team. So there you have it, Cavaliers in 7. Celtics and Sixers. I'm going to take the Sixers in 6 here, and this is obviously assuming that Embiid is healthy, but the injuries are finally catching up to Boston here, and not even Brad Stevens can handle what has become the most exciting team in the entire league with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Moving on to the Western Conference Finals, we have the Rockets and the Warriors. We're all expecting this matchup. We're all hoping it happens. Taking the Warriors in 7, this series will simply be sensational. Let's not forget the Warriors have 4 stars and the Rockets only have 2, and that's what this league comes down to, and that's what this series comes down to. Even if it's only 3 stars to 2 stars, I still like the Warriors in this spot. So give me the Warriors to win in 7. Eastern Conference Finals, I'm having the Sixers and the Cavs. I'm taking the Cavs in 6. Look, this is going to be a taste of years to come of what it's going to be like. The Sixers are going to typically be deep into the playoffs. Sixers will battle them down, but their youth and inexperience will begin to show, and I think LeBron is too much. The finals, again, we have the Warriors and the Cavaliers. This will be the 4th year in a row that we have this showdown. Warriors, they're in full stride. Full stride at this point. The Cavs team is worse than last year's. Last year's finals should have gone to 6 games, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if a sweep happened here. I'm giving the Cavs no shot, but I do think they will steal a game. I'm taking the Warriors in 5. All right, quickly, we're going to go through the MVP awards and all the postseason awards. MVP award should go to LeBron James. Simply the most sensational year. I would say Anthony Davis would be 2nd, James Harden 3rd, Russell Westbrook 4th. I'm still consistent with myself. I said Russell Westbrook was 4th in my MVP voting last year. Last year I had LeBron 1st, and then I had Kawhi Leonard, and then I had James Harden, and then Westbrook. So I'm still consistent. None of you phonies are. But yeah, no, LeBron should be, but James Harden's going to win it this year. Rookie of the Year, Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell are really pulled away from this, and I think Ben Simmons pulled even further away. Ben Simmons is going to win this award, and he definitely should. Jason Tatum, sorry, man, love you, but you're not going to win it. You're not going to win Rookie of the Year. This is a great class for rookies. Great rookie class. Defensive Player of the Year, between Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid, and Paul George, but I feel like you have to give it to Rudy Gobert since he came back. The Jazz have only lost 8 games. In that first game he came back, they did lose. So since then, they've only lost 7 games. This team is absolutely great with him. He deserves Defensive Player of the Year. Most Improved Player of the Year, and I don't even think it's a question, I don't think there's anybody else in this race, is Victor Oladipo. He was traded from the Thunder to the Pacers in that Paul George deal, and we all thought, wow, the Pacers are dumb. Well, at least they got something, but they're dumb for doing this, and they're really not going to do anything. But meanwhile, Victor Oladipo just pulled out an all-star year, and simply sensational, leading them to the 5th seed in the playoffs. Nobody expected that at all. Victor Oladipo is definitely the most improved player of the year. Now, the 6th Man of the Year award, I also don't think is much of a competition. It's going to Lou Williams. Lou Williams had a great season. He almost, after that Blake Griffin trade, he almost fully led this Clippers team to the playoffs, but the Western Conference is too strong, and they began to falter towards the end. Give it to Lou Williams. That's who will win it. Coach of the Year. Now, this one's interesting. There are several arguments for these 3 guys here, and I wouldn't be mad if you give it to either one of them. Brad Stevens of the Boston Celtics, Quinn Snyder of the Utah Jazz, or Dwayne Casey of the Toronto Raptors. Look, Brad Stevens has managed to pull off 55 wins with a completely broken team. At one point in time, their entire starting lineup was injured, and this team did not falter at all. Quinn Snyder, their record was 17-26 at one point in time. They finished off the year with 48 wins. Holy crap. Yeah, no, I know Rudy Gobert came back, but he coached this team so that they would only lose 8 more games since he came back, and they got the 5th seed in the Western Conference. And Dwayne Casey, I feel like nobody's really talking about this, but he's really shaped up this Toronto Raptors team, and they had the 2nd best record in the entire NBA, the best record in the Eastern Conference, and they really ran away with the Eastern Conference in the second half of the year. I think Brad Stevens will win the award, but I think it should go to Dwayne Casey because he did what nobody expected the Raptors to be this good. People expect the Raptors to kind of fall off a little bit, but not one bit. But I wouldn't be mad about any one of these guys winning. So that's it, folks. Gave you my NBA power rankings, gave you the entire playoff preview, and my postseason awards. Next week, we have an absolutely loaded show as well. James will be back. Stay tuned till next week. You're listening to BTH.